Hi, everybody. Very good morning. Thank you to the 26 people who are live on the webinar right now. Hope you had a great Diwali. Happy Diwali, belated. And hope none of you burst crackers, but still had a good time with family, with good food. And so, good to know. So we are going to start in a couple of minutes as more people join us. Before we do that, I thought it'll be nice to sort of take the temperature of the room to sort of understand who's there and on the call, who's interested in applying. So if you guys could just reply it on the chat, stating what is the program that you're looking for to apply, whether it's a master's or a PhD program. And when do you plan to apply? Whether do you plan to apply for fall 2021 or fall 2022 or the future? So just MS or PhD, and for which year do you plan to apply? So I'll sort of get an idea of how to make my talk. Okay. So Diksha wants to apply for masters in future, not currently. Okay. You can also let me know what you are doing right now, which year you are in, whether you are a third year student, a fourth year student, or a professional. Okay. So Shreya aims to apply for a PhD in chemistry. Okay. Suraj, MSc Eco. Okay. Fall 2021. So that would be now. So you must already be in the middle of a lot of work, I hope. I hope your presentation, I hope your application is going well, and this presentation that I'll be making today, I hope will also be of help to you. Okay, Shivank, okay, you're applying for an MS in Computer Science, fall 2021. So that's also just around the corner. I hope your applications are going great. And MA Psychology, okay, 2021, Chinmay, okay, quite a lot of people for 2021. Okay, Dhruv, fourth year student, computer science. Okay. Neeraj wants to apply for international affairs 2021. Rajneesh, PhD in biological science. So Rajneesh, which year do you want to apply? This year or later? Am I audible to you guys? Tanvi, please check. It's probably an error at your end because it looks like I'm audible. Yes, it looks like I'm audible. Refresh it and probably it'll work. Yeah. Okay, this is good. Masters in Aerospace Engineering, fall 2021. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Who was that? GK. Okay. Aman Kevlani. Okay. MS in Biotechnology, fall 2021. Okay. Thanks, Diksha. Yeah. Final year MTech, applying for PhD in photovoltaics for 2021. Okay. Vaibhav Srivastava, PhD in astrophysics 2023. Oh, that's pretty cool. Vaibhav, you know, astrophysics was one of my interests, and I had applied to Caltech for astrophysics. Gotten through also, so maybe I'll be of some help over there. Although I didn't end up pursuing astrophysics, I went into electrical engineering. Firas, 2020 batch, working at JP Morgan, professional. Oh, that's good. Okay, you're probably the first professional who's messaged here. That's good. I'm excited to know that. Electrical engineering PhD 2022, Pramana Parshi, masters in heritage and building conservation. Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Pranjali, MS in CS 2022. Asharya, MBA, fall 2021. Ashray, although I have been to University of Washington for an MBA, today we will be focusing on Masters, MS and PhD programs and not an MBA. That's another beast altogether. You'll get certain hygiene ideas about what's going to happen, but the talk will be focused on MS and PhD particularly. Um, Ananya, PhD in biology, fall 2021. Okay. So what I see actually here, guys, is that guys and girls is that most of you are actually planning to apply for 2021. That's quite exciting. So I do hope that you are, at least 50, 60% through your application preparations. Your SOPs are somewhere ready, I hope. Um, Otherwise, a lot of work is cut out for the next 1 month. And I hope you all are ready for that. Um, Anjali, can I do after a PhD after my MBA? Although it's not related to this talk, Anjali, but an MBA is a terminal degree. So essentially, after that, you don't need to do anything further. You don't need to do any other degree. You can do a PhD always. It doesn't stop you. But an MBA by itself is considered to be the last degree that you would have in the business profession. If you do a PhD, then you sort of end up going into academia, mostly actually, in MBA at least. Okay. Ruby, PhD in mathematics, fall 22. I also see a lot of PhD students. I'm actually pretty happy about that. I hope you guys have had some interesting research experiences. Over time, I'd like to hear from you guys how you've worked things out. Okay, so somebody is asking me if I can change my field. Yes, you can. You'll have to showcase why your profile is good enough for the other field. You should have done projects, internships, courses, etc. We'll talk about that. PhD in biology in fall 2022, Ananya. Okay. So we have quite a lot of, and I'm happy, guys, that you are interacting. It's extremely critical. So feel free to ask any questions as we go through this. I'll take, let's say, 30 minutes to 40 minutes talking about the content, and then the rest of the time will be completely Q&A. But in between, if you have queries, you feel free to ask them, and I'll be happy to answer them. So maybe I should begin now. There are roughly 60 of you on the call. So this particular initiative, this webinar, is in collaboration with the GT Cube and T20 Global Educators. I am the founder and CEO of T20 Global Educators, and I have been doing this for 12 years. So I hope that whatever I share with you today will be useful. We will focus, my entire focus has always been on ensuring that students get to the best universities in the world. And I do not want you to compromise on your potential. And so everything that I will do today will focus on these top universities. At T20, we aim for only the top 20, but here we will make it a little bit broader. So let's start. So before we begin, I just want to clarify who this talk is for. Although I see most of the people are fit the kind of profile I'm looking for. So primarily, number one, this talk is for people who are applying for master's or PhD programs in fall 2021. That's one. And two, it is for undergraduate students or working professionals who aspire to study abroad in the future, right? So ensure that you fall in either of these two brackets. Then this talk will be extremely valuable for you. At the bottom, I have shown this fall, these two pictures, because on the left is what is fall, essentially, and on the right is what is spring. Fall is a beautiful time in the US, and they divide their semesters. The universities which have 2 semesters, they divide their semesters as fall and spring. We call them semester 1, semester 2, first semester, second semester. So fall is a really beautiful time over there, so is spring. You guys are applying for fall, which means many of you are applying for fall 2021, which means you will, if you get admission, then you will end up joining the university next year in August or September. If you were applying for spring, then that would be in January or February, right? So this is just a simple nomenclature how US universities, what universities follow. I'll introduce myself. So my name is Akash Raman. I have a MS, a master's from Harvard University. That's a photo of me. It's a 12-year-old photo, which is why I look very young. I couldn't find any other photo, but this one had this, Harvard written in bold over there. So I thought this would do for now. So I have a MS from Harvard University in electrical engineering, which I completed in 2010. I also have an MBA from University of Washington, Seattle, and I have a bachelor's in engineering from BITS Pilani. I graduated in 2008. I've been a serial entrepreneur after that, and this is my third company, T20. Prior to this, one company which is quite big right now is called Udio. It's a decade old now, and I've also been a visiting faculty at BITS Pilani, and I've taught third-year courses to undergraduate students. Some of you who have done electrical engineering would know analog and digital VLSI design. That's the course that I taught over there. So what do we do? At T20, my task essentially is to help students write these really good, amazing, awesome MS PhD applications, because I want to ensure that they get into the top 20 universities that are around the world, right? So so that's what we do at T20. It's more of my passion. I'm here because I've been doing this for many, many years. So as you can see in the last, so I've been doing this for 12 years, and we've roughly supported 300 students in these 12 years to get into these top 20 universities. My ratings are pretty high, 4.75 and 5, and this was the first year that I'm formalizing this entire process as T20. So I also wanted to share a little bit about, who are these previous students, where did they go, and so on. So these are a couple of universities where my previous students have gone. So you can see there is, all the top 10, top 20 universities. There's Stanford, CMU, University of Illinois. I'm sure some of you must be targeting these universities. I also wanted to sort of show something that where they are today, because they share their details with me, and I was looking at, there was not a single company which I could find where they're not working today, right? I do not take credit for where they are working today, but I do take credit for, the colleges they went to, some sort of credit. The work they are doing today is all their hard work. But they are spread around the world working at the best of universities. Why I'm showing this to you is because you also aim to go to these universities, and hopefully you will also end up at these companies doing some excellent work. So look at it and imagine yourself to sort of get there already, because that's how you'll succeed. We'll talk about this in a little bit detail later, but I shared this one testimonial. You can check out these testimonials on my website, t20t20.com. But the one thing that I really liked about this testimonial was that he says that my feedback was direct and honest, and that's something that I typically do when I work with people. I am very, very straightforward, and which can really hurt people in terms of, if you send me your resume and you say, Akash, please look at it, I might be very direct and I might say it just looks like shit, right? But you need that at this moment. You need that kind of candid feedback, because unless you get that, you will not be able to get into these top universities, right? So I do that. I'm very straightforward, and I also am doing this because I really, really enjoy when I see people succeed. So all of these people, when they go to different places, they do different things. It's really, really exciting to me. So I do hope that some of you also end up going to these universities and are as successful or even more successful, right? So that I can look back and I can say that, I had a part to play in that. Having said that, this is sort of my background. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any. If they are generic questions, I will answer them then and there. But if there are specific questions about your profile, something that you and I can talk, separately, then I will sort of take them towards the end of the call. But if there's anything that's not clear, or if there's anything you want me to talk more about, feel free to, ask me, and I'm happy to share my thoughts. So here we are. This is the crux of the talk today. We are going to talk about the A to Z of the MS PhD applications, right? How to start, how to end, what all comes in between. So we will begin with understanding the motivation behind doing a master's or a PhD program, right? Why do you want to go to graduate school, and whether you want to do a master's or a PhD, right? This is a typical question many of you would have gone through and many of you must be thinking about right now. Once we have this straight, right, once your motivation is clear, then rest of the things fall in place. But without the right motivation, nothing else would make sense. So that's why I wanted to tackle it first. Post this, we will just talk about basic application requirements, the timeline that it takes. This will be a very short summary of what is required by a college, by a university, and how long does it take for all of this to happen, right? Then we'll get into the detail. Each of those application requirements, step by step, I'll get into details. I'll probably share some examples with you, and I'll sort of tell you things that I have learned in these many years from students, and hopefully that'll sort of give some meat to this entire process, right? And then we'll talk about these mistakes. This is the fun part, because a lot of times these are the common mistakes that students do. And you don't want to do them because they can directly disqualify you, your entire work. You know, it takes months to build these applications. You don't want to lose that hard work, right? Having talked about the mistakes, then there is also the good part, right? This is the secret sauce, right? Getting into top universities, I've always thought of it like a formula, right? Like once you know the formula and you can optimize A, B, C, D, then you can get to these top universities. So we'll talk about that secret sauce towards the end of the in 20 to 30 minutes from now. And then we'll talk about how can I help you, how can T20 help you, how can GD Cube help you, and then any specific Q&As that you might have, right? So this is the basic structure that we'll follow. So let's just get on to it. Let's talk about, do you really want to pursue a master's or a PhD program, right? Why graduate school? If some of you can tell me, why do you want to actually pursue graduate school, then that'll be great, you know, chat on the chat. Why do you want to study, why do you want to do a master's or a PhD program? I'm going to wait for like 10, 20 seconds. So feel free to write and let me know why a MS or why a PhD program. Why do you want to go to graduate school? And if it's interactive, it will really help. So please. I'm waiting. There are so many of you who are planning to apply, right? So why do you want to apply? Better research opportunities, right? PhD will give me the way to dive deeper in research. Again, research, okay? Then there is a field in which you want to do advanced coursework. You've not done that during your undergraduate and that's exciting to you, okay? Job in research and development, R&D, okay, nice. I want to know more about the subject, have an experience working with the hotshots of the field. That's interesting, right. It's actually a lot of fun to be around really, really smart people and to see innovation happen right in front of you. So that's a very good inspiration. Research, somebody wants to learn more about their field, conservation, better demand in financial markets. Okay, so you want better job opportunities, okay. Passion to do research, better demand, research. Okay. So that's good. Okay, I'm glad to hear this. So what is the typical things that I hear are things like this. I don't know what else to do. You know, I have, there is a recession going on and this is the best time to go. Or the faculty might expect that you go ahead and, or family might expect that you do graduate studies. Some people want to make a lot of dollars, which by itself is not a wrong thing, it's a good thing. But that by itself, alone by itself is not a good enough motivation. Or some people just want to go abroad, right? And I'm sure all of us have these things. The first time I went abroad, I also wanted to make a lot of money, right? And I also wanted to go and study in some other country with some other people. All this is great, but the issue is that this is not good enough, right? What is good enough is what you guys have actually written down in those comments, right? What do you want to be, right? And so some of you want to prepare for your chosen career, right? You want demand in the market. You want to go into that particular field. Somebody said, I wanted to study this particular field more. Somebody wanted to become a master in a particular field, right? If one of you has done artificial intelligence in undergrad, you know that it's limited, right? Any of the courses that you've done is limited. But once you go and do a master's, then you kind of get a depth in that particular field, right? Some sort of foundation, some sort of mastery. Okay, somebody here said, yeah, they want to go abroad. Yeah, absolutely. I hope you do. And you have also retracted the message, but I do hope you do. Develop an independent sort of thinking, right? Our undergraduate studies in India are very rote learning based, right? And we don't get a chance to think for ourselves, solve problems which are critical, which we think are important, right? And in the way we feel they're important. So that might be an inspiration for you. Develop research skills. I think so many of you said research skills, and build credentials. You know, you want to be in demand in the market. As long as your motivations are clear, right? Your motivations are fine and they are about what you want to be, are about learning something more and improving yourself as a person, you should move to the next step, right? Then you should think about doing a master's. If your motivations are not clear and if they are around the other things, which are, you know, making a lot of money, want to go abroad, then you can make a lot of money in India also, right? You can also go abroad later. Whatever you do will not impact your life as much. You will not be able to do great at your master's or a PhD programs if your motivation is not correct. So ensure that you sort of set your motivation right, and then let's move on to the next step, which is it going to be a master's or is it going to be a PhD, right? Now, typically what people, people know this, that, you know, a PhD program is typically fully funded. It's a 4 to 6 year program, while a master's program is 1 to 2 years and you have to pay something. So a lot of people think that they will apply for a PhD and then because there is money, they will be able to finish this PhD program and it'll be all great and nice. But that's not how things work, you know. A PhD program really requires you to have, you know, to build deep expertise in this one small little area that you will pick up, right? Versus like a master's program, which is you build a solid foundation, but that's about it. You don't go extremely in depth into that program, right? So unless you have real motivation, real passion, you enjoy unstructured work, you are an independent thinker, a PhD is not for you, right? Mostly people who are applying for PhDs would have had certain significant research experiences beforehand. And they know that they are good at research. They know that they enjoy this time when they are by themselves and they're trying to figure things out. Those people should consider PhDs. Everybody else who wants you know, to be in demand in the market or wants to learn a little bit more about their field should look at master's programs, right? And it is important to consider all of these things because post the PhD, most of the people go into research or most of the people go into teaching. Yes, you can become an entrepreneur. Yes, you can, you know, join the government or a non-profit, but most of the times it's just research and teaching, right? While in MS, you obviously are absorbed immediately by the likes of Apple, Facebook, or so on, which also happens in PhD, but after 5 years of grueling work, right? And also remember that this financial support that you get in a PhD program is much smaller than what your master's counterparts will start earning in 2 years of their graduation, right? When a master's student will graduate, they will probably start earning $80,000 or $100,000 a year, right? While the PhD student is still earning, you know, getting a stipend of $20,000, $25,000 a year. So don't think about money as the reason why you want to go for the doctorate program. It is okay to take a loan. It is okay to get some scholarships. And go for masters as well. Just be very clear, you know, analyze yourself on these two columns and be very clear about whether it's going to be masters or whether it's going to be a doctorate program, because it can hurt you later if you're not clear about it initially. So somebody has asked me if will the financial support be enough to sustain myself in the US? The PhD program financial support will be enough. In $25,000, you can live decently. You are not going to splurge money, but you can, as an Indian student, you can live decently. You can have a normal house. You can go on a vacation sometime. You can still manage it. Yeah. Okay. So keep this in mind, understand what you want to do, and then let's move on to the next one, which is what are the basic application requirements that colleges require. You already might know this. So there is GRE, of course. There are these standardized tests. There is GRE. Interestingly, it's been waived by most of the colleges for 2021. Then there's TOEFL or IELTS. Either of them are great for proving that you have certain kind of proficiency in English. They test you on speaking, writing, reading, and listening. Then there are these documents that you have to give to these universities, right? You have to create them. So there is the statement of purpose, which is sort of like a subjective document where you talk about your academic and research experience. Then there is the resume, of course, the curriculum vitae. And then there are these letters of recommendation which you get from your professors, project supervisors, and you submit them to the university. You also submit your grades, transcripts from your university, and sometimes you have to submit like a diversity statement or a personal statement talking about what adversities have you faced or what kind of value do you bring into the college or in the school, right? So these are some basic application requirements. This is all that you require if you want to apply to a master's or a PhD program. We will go into details of each of them in the next coming slides. But before that, I'll just share a simple timeline for doing this. Now, this timeline was created keeping in mind that you have enough time. You start in August, and then you comfortably will be able to take almost 4 months to complete this entire process. It doesn't take 4 months in reality though. If you are diligent about it, you can finish it much earlier. I remember I had completed my application to 7 different colleges in less than a month. And I had prepared for GRE in 15 days. I had prepared for TOEFL in 3 days. Although it takes 2 months, 3 months, people take a lot of time. But if you are really keen, and then you can do things faster, easier. I hope it doesn't come to that because the quality of your application reduces for sure. But still, it is possible to get into the universities that you want to if you give yourself enough time, right? So in this. I have stressed on early application, which is essentially applying as early as possible. I'll describe why, because most of the seats are still open. So for the PhD applicants would know this, that the professors have only a few seats under them for PhD, and as applications come in, they will decide quickly whether they're going to take students or not, and those open positions get closed pretty quickly, right? So you have to be pretty quick about it. So anyway, this is a general application timeline. We can also do it in a month, but then you have to work really hard. Okay, so now that we are out, we are done with this, we have our motivation clear, and we also understand that these are the basic application requirements. Let's go into a little bit detail of these application requirements, right? What do you keep in mind? How do you do all of this, right? So simply speaking, there are these 5 things that are required. You need to select the universities that you want to apply to, you need to give these tests, and you need to prepare these 3 types of documents, right? So let's go into detail of each one of them. Let's talk first about university selection. So essentially what I would suggest to you is that you create a shortlist as early as possible, and it should be your first step in your entire application process, right? Why should it be your first step? Because when you are going to give GRE and TOEFL after this, in the next step, GRE and TOEFL will ask you the name of 4 universities that you want to send your scores to. To these universities, they will send your scores for free, right? But if you want to send your scores to any other university, then GRE is going to charge you $27 and TOEFL is going to charge you $20, right? So it's $100 just gone for sending scores to different universities. So avoid that, please. The process is anyway expensive. So make sure that you know these 4 universities beforehand where you definitely want to apply, right? So when you go and give GRE and TOEFL in the next step, you can put the names of these universities there. Now, having said that, The number of universities typically depends how many people choose depending on what their financial ability is and how sure they are of getting into these universities. Typically, I have seen students choose anywhere between 5 to 9 universities, 6, 7 being the average. So how it typically happens is you choose certain ambitious universities, certain moderate universities, and certain safe universities. Now, how do you decide that, right? How do you know this one's ambitious, this one's moderate, this one's safe? Well, the answer is not easy, it's subjective, right? But there are some things that you can do which can help you. Number one, go to your professors, right? If you are close to some of your professors, go and ask them which are the universities they would suggest that you apply to. Oftentimes, your professors might even have connects at some of these universities, and it is really helpful if that happens, right? So go and ask your professors. See where your seniors studied. If you go to LinkedIn and if LinkedIn has a college search option where you can see where your college seniors studied in the US and at which colleges. It'll give you like a whole data about where did they study, how many percent of your college seniors went abroad, all of that, right? So see where did they study. That'll give you an idea. Talk to them if you can find them. See university rankings. So there are these 4 typical university rankings. There's US News, there's ARWU, there is THES, which is a UK-based ranking, and there is QS. You can look at these rankings. You can see what are the top universities out there. One other way to find these universities also is to find papers in your field. So let's say you are interested in analog VLSI design, right? And so you go and find papers which are written in analog VLSI design, and when you see that paper in the co-authors, you will see a couple of professors, right? Google these professors up, go to their websites, and see what kind of work are they doing. Is that work interesting to you? If it is, then note their names down. You will start seeing sort of a trend after a while, and you will be able to say that, okay, this particular university has a lot of professors working in analog VLSI design. So this one I definitely want to apply to, right? So that's how you will sort of slowly start shortlisting universities. Factor in the location and the weather, okay? I cannot be more categorical about this. We don't think it is important in India, but it is extremely important if you're going outside the country. So for example, Boston, Cambridge, where Harvard exists, gets really cold in winters, right? There's a lot of snow and it becomes like -18, -20 degrees Celsius. And there are a lot of friends of mine who found that absolutely depressing, right? And so every time winter was about to start, they would get terribly depressed. And throughout winter, they'd be like really depressed, which really affected their work, right? And on the other hand, I was seeing snow for the first time. So for me, it was like the best experience on planet, right? So I really enjoyed it. And it helped me do better. When I went to Seattle has this issue that it rains there a lot. Almost 150 days out of 365 days, it just rains. So because of absence of sun, people get depressed, right? People literally take vitamin D over there to sort of very often because they're all low on vitamin D. So you have to factor in these things when you are deciding which college do you want to go to. If you go to Cornell, for example, right? Cornell is in a godforsaken place where there is not much happening around there. Everything closes down at 8 o'clock. If you are the kind of person who enjoys that, then Cornell is great for you. But if you are the kind of person who will enjoy a New York type setting, right, then maybe New York is where you should apply, right? So you should factor in the location for sure when deciding the college. And also consider both the university and the department reputation. Don't just go by the university rankings and don't just go by the department rankings. Some universities might not be ranked so high, but their department might be number 1, number 2 in the world, right? So keep that in mind when you're looking at rankings. Look at both, right? Also funding opportunities. Now this is a little tricky because you would not really know this information sitting back in India, right? This is where actually something like T20 could help you, somebody like I could help you, because I've seen this happen over many years, right? So I know, for example, that University of Florida tries to give this 10, 20, 30% tuition waiver to almost all students, right? So if you apply there, there is a chance you will get something like that from them. There are other universities which will give you non-resident student waivers. There are some which will not at all give you funding, right? So there is some sort of you can find them, you can go on Quora, you can Google up, you can go to these MS PhD forums, and you can find some information for sure. But you would need some senior, if you don't have a senior, then come to me, but you would need to talk to people to understand about some of these things. Once you've made this list, take it to some of the people, ask them if this seems fine to you, and then accordingly decide, right? So having done that, now let's say you have, some of you must already have your university selected, but let's say this step is done and now you have your universities ready. You go and take those tests, right? Most of you would know about tests, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. There are essentially two tests for the younger ones who are going to apply in 2022, 2023. Yes, this will be helpful, so just go through this. There are two tests for English. You can give any one of them depending on what your university prefers. Whether it's TOEFL or whether it's IELTS, both of them test similar things. The testing pattern is very different, but they are all testing you for writing, reading, listening, and speaking. You need a minimum score of that. In IELTS, greater than 6 or a band, or in TOEFL IBT, you need greater than 81 out of 120. Right? So if you remember, I had mentioned I had taken 3 days to give this TOEFL, and my score was 119 or 120, right? But that might also be because I was good at English, and some of you might need to prepare a little bit more. If your score does end up coming lesser than this, then it becomes a little harder for universities to give you scholarships. So think of TOEFL primarily as a scholarship medium. Most colleges do have, if your score is less, they will have remedial courses. Once you go there, you can do them. But so to try to get it as high as possible, because it will help you get some sort of funding from the college. Then there is GRE. GRE essentially tests your reasoning, thinking, and writing skills. They will test you on 3 things: verbal reasoning, quantitative reasoning, analytical writing. I think GTCube has a brilliant package on GRE, and you should definitely look at that. They also have some sample tests, so you could look at them. They will help you for sure. And although this year it's been interesting because most universities have waived GRE. Considering COVID, it has been hard for students to apply, and also universities are trying to get more students this year, so they have waived GRE. Most of them have. So okay. So now your universities have been selected and you have given the tests, right? Now let's come to the meat, right? You have to now write these documents, which are going to tell this university who you are. So number 1, this document is the most critical of all documents, the statement of purpose. So it's a subjective document, contains information about your academic and research journey, right? So now here is what this is from University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. This is their 2021 fall prompt for statement of purpose. So they say to describe your previous academic work in your proposed field of study and include your goals for graduate study and career, right? So they're talking about, first tell us what you've done, and then tell us what is your goal. Why do you want to come here and study, and what is your goal for your career? Describe any kind of research experience that is relevant, and please tell us what you've learned from it. Don't just tell us that you've done this, but tell us what have you learned. And if there's been anything else in your life that you feel has been important, then talk about that. And now go a little bit specific, and if you have any specific interests, then please talk about them. And if you have done your research, show it to us that you know that these particular faculty members are there in the university who you would like to work with, right? So essentially there are 4 things they are asking you. Number 1, what's your motivation to apply for higher studies? Number 2, what are your academic, research, and professional learnings? What have you learned? Number 3, why this department, why this university? And number 4, what do you want to do in future, right? So typical SOPs contain these four things. As long as you have some idea of all of this, you can move ahead to the next step. Now, statement of purpose is super critical because this is the only part of your application that is in your control, right? Completely in your control. And it's taken super seriously by universities. So you have to spend enough time working on it. You have to tell them a story, right? A compelling story. It should not be like a kindergarten story. It's a research story, but it should make me feel like, no, this student is really, really good and I would like this student to study in my university, right? You have to prepare this drafts early and you have to prepare multiple drafts. I remember probably my application went through at least 10 different drafts and went through reviews by at least 5-10 different seniors, including a couple of professors. And after that it was ready to be submitted to Harvard and to other places, and it still got rejected at multiple places, right? So you have to prepare them early, you have to prepare them often. You have to customize them. You can't just copy paste. Schools can tell when you have copy pasted something. So you have to customize it and you have to proofread it a million times. You have to ensure it's grammatically fine. And most importantly, you have to get it reviewed by multiple people, right? So don't stress. If you don't have access to a lot of these things, then we are always there. But even if we are not there, go and get it. Go and give it to multiple seniors of yours or people who have already gotten through these colleges. Get them to review it, right? Don't rely only on the SOPs that are available on the internet or the guidance that is available on the internet, because it's quite mistaken, right? I'll show you how. Okay, so for example, the kind of things that you have to keep in mind. So here is one paragraph which a student had shared with me, which, this SOP started with this, which said that, one has to watch out for engineers. They begin with the sewing machine and end up with an atomic bomb, as quoted by Marcel Pagnol, in some book, right? This is a classical mistake that so many people do who write SOPs, right? They start with a quote, right? Now tell me something, is this quote telling me anything about this student, right? Is it telling me this student is a smart student? Is it telling me that student does great research? Is it telling me anything about the student? It's not. It's just telling me that you probably copy pasted it from somewhere, right? So it does not add any value. Please don't start your SOPs with quotations, right? The second one, in this one, this person writes too much jargon in it, right? The first line, at the very egress of my schooling. I don't know what the hell egress is, right? Do you know? Then he talks about made me burn the midnight oil, right? Or like my toolbox was then empty except for the zeal to become a renowned civil engineer, right? The quest to immense amount, adding fuel to the fire of passion. All of this is not required, right? No, over there, they are not testing your English skills. They are trying to see if you can communicate, in easy terms what they're asking you, right? So now I'll show you a great paragraph which I really liked when I had seen it. This was one of my students. I think she went to Stanford in the end. So she simply stated, I am this person, I am studying following at this university. I'm interested in this field. I am specially interested in this field in this particular topic. So she says, I'm specially interested in studying the techniques and principles behind imparting a semantic understanding of text to agent, thereby allowing the design of intelligent and personalized internet applications and user interfaces. She went super specific in the first paragraph, right? When a professor reads that, when a trained eye reads that, it's really inspiring, right? So, and then she says, I have built a basic foundation in this area already because I have worked on projects and electives. And because this problem is so complex, I feel that I need a graduate degree to study, because I want to be an inventor and a problem solver. So if you remember the questions that were asked, she almost covers everything in one paragraph, although she writes like a long SOP. But this is a beautiful paragraph which kind of hooks you immediately to what this person is trying to say, right? So you have to write something like this, right? Then, these are some other examples. This is from my SOP, actually, the last one, where you have to sort of describe a project. And all you have to do is you have to go into some detail of the project. You have to tell what were the results of the project, right? And what you learned out of it. So I'll skip this part. Okay, I will skip this part. Let me go back to the yeah. So okay, somebody's asking any. Yeah, so there are a couple of rankings as I've already mentioned. There is US News, there is QS, there is THES, there is ARWU. You can use any of these and you'll get some idea. Yeah. So, okay, so having covered the statement of purpose, let's go to the resume. So a resume is essentially a table of contents of your professional autobiography. Many of you would have written resumes, but I have always seen terrible resumes, terrible resumes whenever they come. And, somebody is writing that they play music, sorry, play music is okay, but, your people will write the languages they know, or they will give their height and weight and things which are not even required. So keep it short, write in an active voice, right? Include your awards, include publications, include things which tell something about you. Include project descriptions, any extracurriculars, contact information. Contact information I've seen missing in resumes, right? People forget to write their email IDs. Exclude things like course descriptions, too much school information or personal information, right? And please ensure that you set up a website or a LinkedIn profile. Today, it's super easy to set up a website. It takes like 1 day. So please ensure that you put it, and then you put it in your resume as well, right? So I'll give you an example of, what we at T20 do, right? So this is sort of like a tutorial that we share on how to write your resume and the things that you need to keep in mind when you're writing your resume. And then we share this nice template, right? So you can very quickly use this to fill all the information that you need to. Your education, your research experience, how to write that down. Notes are there on the side which tell you exactly how to put them in place. Your professional experience, how to write publications, how to talk about teaching experience, coursework, what are the skills, how do you need to write them, what are your achievements, and what are your extracurricular activities, right? So something like that can really help people. You can find them online. This is not the only way to write a resume, but make sure that you do good enough research before you complete your resume, and please take it through a couple of people before you finalize your resume. And the third one is letters of recommendation. This is the last step. You will need 2 to 3 letters from people who know you well, right? So these have to be your project supervisors. These have to be your course instructors. Don't take it from like your neighbor, right? Or somebody who does not know you. This person has to know you in an academic or a research setting, right? So my projects, so I had one academic one from BITS, which my professor gave me, under whom I had done 2 projects. My other recommendation was from ISRO, and my other recommendation was from Indian Institute of Astrophysics. And I also had a 4th recommendation, which was from Raman Research Institute, but then I kind of juggled and mixed them together. So make sure that you have built these relationships. Those people who are in their 2nd year, 3rd year, please build deep relationships with your professors, right? Get to know them. Let them know you. Professors enjoy knowing students. They're a little quirky, but over time they're okay. I mean, you'll get to know them, and then they're okay. So once you decide that you want letters of recommendations from them, don't shy away from discussing your project with them in detail. You might have done a project with them. Go and talk to them about it. Tell them the things that you did. Tell them the accomplishments you had. Tell them why are you applying for a master's program, right? Or a PhD program. Tell them these are your future goals. Share your SOP. Unless you do this, the recommendation is not going to sync up with your SOP, right? It's not going to sync up with your application. And if that doesn't happen, then your chances of application reduce considerably. So share everything that you can with them. Don't shy away from that. Your letters should focus on research potential than on past accomplishments, obviously. Do not write your own letter. Professors might push you to write your letter, but please ask them to write. Also, if you can, try to push them to write, subjective letters, not copy paste from older ones. I have seen professors, even at the top colleges in the country, just changing the name and changing the course name and just giving the same recommendation for every student. Yeah, that's fine. It'll get you into like a 30th, 40th rank college, which is also great. But if you want to get into those, in the best of colleges, your potential, then you got to be more methodical about it. And not more than one non-academic letter, which means that let's say you are a professional, one of you was a professional, then please only get one recommendation from your manager at work, but the others should be academic. Why this is important is because a professor likes to hear about you from another professor, right? As a professor, I would like to trust another professor to tell really who you are and not your manager. You are different in a professional setting versus versus an academic setting, right? Now, I had an example here, but we don't have time, so I'm going to skip over that. It was a recommendation I had written for one of my students to get into colleges, and when I was visiting faculty, and this person got through 3 out of 4 colleges that he had applied to, including a full scholarship at a college in Europe. Maybe I will just show you what was distinct about it, and maybe that will help. So this was the recommendation. This red line I want you to see, I describe here that this person went above and beyond the project requirements, and because of that he was able to complete something that I did not even ask him to do, right? So something like that coming from a professor is extremely valuable. If a professor reads that, they are really impressed by this student. Then there's another line where I talk about a noticeable feature about XX through this was that it was an independent initiative by him. And I saw him in the lab at odd hours, helping students despite his own commitment, right? So this again tells you about the student being independent, and that is really critical. Then this is also something that I used to do. I would add this, sort of like a ranking where I would tell where, these are the things that professors judge you on. They want to know what your motivation is, whether you can think independently, whether you have aptitude for research. So I would put these scores in. You should also try something like that with your professors, right? If they are writing recommendations for you. Okay, so done. Now, last 2 slides. Application mistakes, right? Number 1 application mistake, applying low. This is a big gripe of mine with students from the top IITs, BITS, everywhere, right? Even they do, or NITs, even they do not understand that they should apply high, As long as I have seen students with a GPA of 8, right? Average GRE, average TOEFL get through top 20 universities, right? And I have seen students with a GPA of 9.5, 9.6 not getting a single admit, right? So the difference that happens is that, first of all, you will not get through a top university unless you apply to it, right? The only difference between people who get through Harvard and who don't get through Harvard is that those who did not get through Harvard did not apply there, right? So definitely apply high. I'm not saying just go crazy and apply to only the top 5 universities, but I'm saying ensure that you apply high so that if you do have a chance, you at least get through, right? It's only once that you are applying. Number 2, applying late. This is a pain. Seats might get filled. Scholarships might get over if you apply late. So please ensure that you apply as early as possible. It really, really helps. So all those who are applying for fall 2021, get on to your applications. Do this really quickly. Within the next 15-20 days, you should be done with everything and you should be able to apply very, very soon, okay? You can apply late. There were a couple of applications I had put in late. I still got through. So it's not like you cannot get through, but it really helps. It increases the chances for sure. Insufficient work on SOP, resume, and recommendations. Please don't do that. Please don't do mistakes, spelling mistakes and all of that. Don't have grammatical errors. Ensure that every statement is crisp. Get it through multiple reviews, right? Don't copy paste. Don't plagiarize. These people who are looking at your SOP have gone through thousands of those SOPs, thousands of those resumes. They can very quickly pick, oh, this line was there in some other resume also. This line was there in some other SOP also, right? So please do not copy. Also, there are softwares which your SOP and resume go through. which determine if it has been plagiarized or not. So, and if it is found to be plagiarized, then forget about getting admit over there, right? So don't copy paste, please. Just be, real. Write what you feel. Insufficient homework and research, of course. And choosing schools based only on overall ranks. You also need to choose schools based on departmental ranks, right? So, okay, somebody is asking, do we need LORs at the time of application or after the university asks for upload? No. So when you are putting in your application, that you're filling in the application form, there'll be a section for recommendations. In that section, you will put the email IDs of your professors and their designation and some of their details. Emails will automatically go to your professor, and your professor will have to submit the recommendation within the timeline that has been given to them. Sometimes universities accept recommendations a little later after the deadline also, but try not to do that, because then your application will also get reviewed later. So try to encourage your professors to submit their recommendations before the deadline, right? Can we submit the same letter at multiple universities? Yes, you can, but there is a part which talks about why this university and why this faculty, why this department. It is a long paragraph. Please ensure that that paragraph is specific to the university, that you're applying to. So you will have to change that paragraph at least for different universities. Rest of the stuff can be similar or same. That's okay. Yeah. Please show that LOR example. Priya, I'll probably send it separately to you. Right now, actually, we are running a little late. Okay. Now let's come to the core of things, right? What is the top 20 secret sauce, right? Like, how do you get into these top 20 universities, right? So number one, unfortunately, scores matter. So a high GPA or a high class rank matters. See, some of your universities might give, the topper might have a GPA of 8, right? So in that case, the class rank matters. And in some universities, obviously, high GPA is awarded, so high GPA matters. Publications, these are super important. If you have them, then getting into top 20 is easier. Although publications matter a lot more for PhD than for masters, you can still get into top masters program with average GPA, average, not even publications, on the basis of, I will come to that a little later, higher GRE TOEFL scores, because these will give you scholarships. Interesting research projects and internships, right? So those who are in your second year, third year, please scout for these internships in your next year. Go to IITs, go to ISC, go to CSIR labs, go to TIFR, go to ISRO. There are so many places you can do some amazing internships at. You just need to find the professor you are interested in working with, write a quick email, and hope that you get through. Honest and well-written SOP, resume, and recommendations. I cannot stress this less, right? Honesty here is super critical. And well-written SOP, resume, recommendations, they show that you are a diligent student, right? But having said all of this, there is something even more important, if you want to get into top 20 universities. I've seen a lot of students not having all of this, right? But still getting into top 20 universities. What are those things, right? 5 things. Apply early, work really hard, write those SOP resume really well, do not cheat, do not lie on your resume, do not lie on your SOP, communicate clearly, write things really well, and please seek help. It is a hard process. It is very tiring. Once I finished my applications, I took a oath that I will never, ever, ever do applications again. Although I'm helping you all and I've been doing that for so many years, but that's more out of, something else, but it is a real pain. So unless you seek help, you do not know everything, and other people can give you really good perspectives. So reach out to your seniors, reach out to a lot of people, ask for help. So the mantra is apply early, work hard, don't cheat, communicate clearly, and seek help. Okay, so having done that, how can we help, right? So T20 provides all of these services, right? It answers your queries, does a evaluation, helps you selecting universities, gives you guidance on how to write your resume, SOP, helps you with the application review, gives you motivation, inspiration. You can hear me speak, so you kind of understand how I can help you with that. There are three things we kind of give right now. One is evaluation. This evaluation is free. So in case any of you are interested, just go to the website, sign up. We'll set up a 10-minute call. We'll talk about your profile. If you have any queries, I'll answer those. So hopefully they will help you in understanding what to do with your application, right? The second option we have is review. This is for people who have already done their application. They just need review. You know, they have their SOP ready, they have their resume ready. They just want somebody to look through that. So this is a 60-minute thing that we do. And the third one is the full comprehensive thing where we help you with the entire application from A to Z. All of these things that are written, we sort of help you with those. So we want to tell you that you're not alone in the process. We are not the only ones who's doing this in the market. There are other people also doing it. You can seek their help as well, but ensure that you do seek help. If you don't hire anybody to help you, at least ask your seniors, right? Reach out to them, and most seniors are very happy to help you because they've been there, they've been through this difficult process, right? So make sure that you're not alone in this process because it'll make it a little hard if you're doing it all by yourself, and maybe you will not even get through if you do it alone, okay? Now, if you sign up through GTCube, I think there is an additional SOP writing support I think that they'll give you. I do not write SOPs for you. You will write them yourself. You will write your resume yourself, but I will guide you in writing that. But if you sign up through GTCube, you might also get additional support in writing it, and there is some discount as well, but that we will see. Okay, so that covers the presentation up. We started with talking about the motivation for MS PhD. We went on to talk about the specific basic requirements that are required. Then we went into detail of each of these steps, the mistakes that people can do, and how do you get into these top universities, right? And what can we do to help you? Now let me get to your questions. I hope this was useful to you. Let me see, there are some interesting questions. So somebody asked me, can we mention the international conferences that we have attended? Yes, you can. If you did, if you did like a paper presentation, or if you did some sort of a symposium over there, feel free to mention it, or seminar. Feel free to mention it. It adds value to you. Then is 3.2 considered a good GPA? Saloni, 3.2 is a good GPA. It depends on the university you are applying to, right? So. And what is the program that you are applying to? So 3.2 is good. You have cut the you are above the cutoff bar. So be happy about that. But now 3.2 is still not very great. So your application has to be really strong, right? So your SOP, your resume, all of that has to be really strong. I know somebody who went to Boston University. I helped him out in 2015, and he went to Boston University at a GPA of 2.8. Right, so it is possible, right? So it's just about the rest of the application that you write. And this person was not from a top university. He was from I think 50th, 60th ranked university in India. So it was not a very high ranked university. So it's possible. Welcome, Raki. Welcome, Shivani. So Anushri, is the free resource offered by WES to convert our score to 4.0 scale accurate? You do not need WES conversion. Do not convert your score to 4.0. If your university offers on a 10-point scale, write it on a 10-point scale. If your university offers a percentage, then write a percentage. Do not convert. Do not ask for WES unless the university is specifically asking you to do a WES evaluation. Right? Manisha, how can I avail funding in UK? So, Manisha, the typical process that I am talking about is essentially improving your application in such a good way that the university is bound to give you some sort of funding and scholarship. There are independent scholarships that are available, but it is on a very case-by-case basis. They are open for certain fields only, or they are open to certain groups of people only. So that would be a very subjective answer. You'd probably have to, we can probably take that offline, or you could Google up some of that. But the hope would be that we'll make your application so strong that the university by itself will be able to offer you. I remember in 2015, our statistic was that 40% of our students had got some sort of financial support, right? So we can't claim that that's how it's going to be. Although there is one point that I have not mentioned to you, which actually somebody is asking about this. With the current political situation, will it become exceedingly difficult to join a US university? Um, Actually, let me take that question along with the current health situation also, COVID, right? So, um, so one thing that has happened is because of COVID, what we assume at T20 is that it is going to be easier for you to get admission to the top universities, because a lot of students, number one, will defer their admissions for the next year. They will not think of applying. Very few students are applying. And also because few students are applying, universities are trying really hard to attract students. You know, almost 50% of revenue that US education system gets comes out of tuition, right? 46.7% something comes out of tuition. If they don't get that tuition, right, from you, then they are not going to be able to sustain their system. So they want you. And so that is why they have waived off the GRE also this year. In 2008, I remember that when recession had happened, University of California had suddenly increased the number of international students from 5% to 17%. You know, and even given away some 3,000 free iPads so that they could attract more students. So this is a great year to apply. If you are considering to apply and if you want scholarships and if you want better admissions, then this is an absolutely brilliant year to apply. Sorry for I mean, and I don't mean to say it in terms of COVID. I mean, COVID is a really terrible time, and some of us have lost people to that. And I'm sorry if that has happened to you. But that does enable admissions to happen a little bit more easily. The political situation, don't worry about it, Babita, because political situation is very temporary. Mr. Trump is going to hopefully go out of the picture, and we will have Biden, and then things will be easier, I believe. And anyway, political situation was not disturbing students particularly, because the US still wants to be at the forefront of education and still wants to have these best universities and best students from around the world. So don't worry about that. Does the research background or the status of a professor giving LOR matters? Very good question. It matters and it does not matter. So let me tell you how. It matters because if the professor who is reading your application knows this guy, right, this woman or this man, then it is extremely, extremely useful for you. So one of my professors who was at Raman Research Institute, he was known by this professor of mine at two universities that I applied to, including Harvard. And I believe that was one of the big reasons why I got through the university. So, so it does help, right? But it does not help if this professor is still going to write a shitty recommendation for you, right? Your application, your recommendation has to come from people who know you well. So let's say you have a professor who is a lecturer, right? But who knows you so well and can write you a brilliant letter of recommendation. On the other hand, there is this professor, very famous and all of that, but cannot write you a good recommendation, right? In that case, I will suggest to you, go for this lecturer, because this person's recommendation is actually going to add value to you, right? So it does matter and does not matter. Then is it okay to not have a paper publication for MSCSE with undergrad GPA being above 9? Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it shouldn't bother you so much. Yeah. If it was there, it would really help, but it should not bother you so much. Having a 9 GPA, above 9 GPA is actually really good for your applications. So is there any website which can suggest universities according to our GPA? That is not possible, Ranveer, because the application process is multidimensional. You know, GPA is not the only factor. It is also subjective in your SOP, resume, recommendations, projects, GRE, TOEFL, right? So you can't just use one metric and say ki these are the good universities for me or these are the bad universities for me. It is a subjective process. You will have to do your research or find somebody who knows their research. It is not just the GPA that matters. The whole application matters, right? So I am thinking of MS MBA from Harvard, and I am at IISR. Okay, that's good. That's good. I hope you have certain good publications and good recommendations. There is absolutely a chance for you to get through MBA, but you have to be clear, Saloni, whether you want an MS or an MBA, because those are two entirely different fields, and you have to be sure about which one you want to do, because the career options after that are also very different. One will take you to a technical role, one will take you to a managerial role in a different kind of a company altogether. So you will have to figure that out. Should we start communicating to professors before applying for PhD? Iman, very, very good question. So here is my slide for that. I did not share it because I wasn't sure how many people will make use to it, but yes, it helps to write to professors if you are applying for a PhD. And it is ideally done to introduce yourself, impress them, request for an admit, and so that they can guide you. You simply write a small email, maybe like 2-paragraph email. You talk about your interests, you talk about their work, and you attach your resume. You send it to a couple of professors, you wait for a week, you hope that they reply. If they reply, great. This time, a couple of my students have already got responses from really, really good places, from UPenn, from TAMU, because they emailed their professors early. So I help with that. I also had an email linked here, which could have helped you to understand how to write that email. But yeah, absolutely it helps. Read also professors' websites. A lot of professors write on their websites that they are looking for a PhD candidate. So you could use in this particular department or in this particular lab or for this particular project. So use that for sure. It really, really helps. For MS, you don't really need to worry about it. This is more for PhD. If we are from an average university, should we have to apply to the topmost universities? Okay, so if you are ranked number 1 at a random university, at an average university, and if you are ranked number 1 at a top 10, top 15 university, you are considered equal. So what I'm trying to say is similar ranks are considered equal unless you are from an IIT or BITS, let's say, which are distinct from the rest of the colleges in the minds of the US universities, right? The universities, US universities otherwise don't have much information about Indian colleges, right? So, I mean, they do, but not really. So in those cases, your university does not matter as much as your application matters, as your class rank matters, as your SOP matters, as your GPA matters, as your resume matters. Like I will repeat this again and again. It is a multi-dimensional process, and there are multiple inputs that are considered. So don't tell yourself that because you are from an average university, you will again go to an average university. No, you will go to a better university. That's what you should target. Obviously, you will apply to certain safe universities. You can put those other universities in that, but definitely try to aim higher. Unless you aim higher, you will not reach there, right? So I would suggest that you apply higher. Is there a website to find out the application to admission ratio for universities? I have never come across this. If you do, please let me know. In individual departments do have this data. If you go to the websites, and they do have this data, but you'll have to look, like really, really look. I have this data from my own experiences with the students that I have worked with. So I know, for example, that University of Michigan admits a lot of students, for example, or University of Florida admits a lot of students. University of Southern California is almost like an Indian university with like 50-60%. I don't know how many percent, but so many students who are Indians. Like left, right, you feel like you're in an Indian college, in an Indian college, right? So I know all of this because I've seen this or I visited a lot of these places. But you will probably need to ask seniors or me. I mean, I'm happy to help you out. Can GRE work for both MS and MBA? I'm confused which to take as. Yes, it works for both MBA and MS. But please be clear about which one you want to do, because for MBA, there is even more hard work required for the applications. For every college, you have to write a specific MBA, which is specific. Sorry, for every college, you have to write a specific essay, which is specific to their MBA school. So it takes a lot more time. So MBA application killed me, right? So So please be sure. How to decide which university is moderate for me or which I should aim at? See where your college seniors have gone, right? Go to Quora, read up about different colleges. Go to couple of these MS PhD forums where students come and talk, right? EduLeaks and others. Go and see which colleges have so many students who are getting admits to. People will write at the end of the year, I got admitted to these many universities. They would also put their GPA, their scores. Look at that, try to figure out, okay, at this score, this person was able to get through this university, so maybe I also have a chance, right? So you can use that to apply. Then, can you get a good university without publication and a CGPA of 8.3 but with work experience at CSIR and AIMS? Absolutely. That work experience would be counted like very strongly. And if your professors and if your guides can write you good recommendations, GPA would be a secondary thing, right? There is always some weak part in an application and there's always some strong part. The job that we do when we are putting our application forward is to focus on the strong parts. Make them even stronger, make them look so strong that the parts which are weak do not even come in the front, right? They look at your application and they say, brilliant research experience, have research publications, great recommendations. Okay, GPA is a little less, but it's okay, right? It should be like that, right? So absolutely. I want to take admission in MS in 2022 fall. So when should I give GRE according to application to colleges? Give GRE in August. Give GRE in July, August, sometime that time. Spend summer vacations studying for GRE and then just as soon as summer vacations are over, go and give GRE. So, can I do an MBA after my dual bachelor's and master's degree? Won't it be seen as a detour from the usual path? So Amil, I can't answer a question about MBA over here, but it is obviously a detour, but if you can describe why that detour makes sense to you and how it sort of fits in your entire career journey and goals, then it's fine. I mean, a lot of people come to MBA after having done all sorts of crazy things, right? One of my classmates was a monk. So, I mean, that's complete detour, right? So you have to somehow explain why that detour, right? Can you please share that email? Babita, I'm not sure which email you're asking for. Vaishnavi, I'm thinking for an MS in pharmaceutics and I'm working on my publication. So there are two. So are two publications enough to get into top university of USA? Also CGPA is 8.5 for first year. Two publications is really good. It matters where you have written them, of course. If they are in Indian journals, they might have less credibility. If they are in international journals, then they have much more credibility. But yes, two publications even in Indian journal are still better than none. So they will definitely help you get through good universities. They show that you are committed to research. They show that you can also translate your research into academic work, which other people can use. Right? So absolutely, very good. Should the recommendation letter be recent one? They should know you. I mean, in the last couple of years at least, last 2 years, 3 years. It depends. There are certain professionals who have not gone to college, who've been working for many, many years. And they still have to take recommendation letters from their professors. There is one student I'm working with this year who graduated from college in 2010 and then now he's applying and then he got a master's and now he's applying for a PhD. So now he needs a recommendation from the undergraduate school, which was from 2006 to 2010, right? But I mean, you have to. So he is. So how many universities should I apply for if I'm looking for a PhD? And how to choose which universities to apply. So I described how to choose earlier, Saloni. You can also Google it up a little bit. You will find some good information. Email me later. And one of the stupid things I have done is that I have not written my email ID. And I was telling everybody about how to write. So I'm just going to put team@t20t20.com, right? So that's my email ID. We will be able to respond to you there in case you have other questions that you need a response to. You should look at 5 to 8 universities and hope that your application is strong enough to get through one of them. So what about applying to a US university with a 3-year bachelor degree? Will a PG diploma course be a good choice for completing the credits? Nahi, you will need it can't be a diploma course. You will need a full 2-year master's degree. I mean, the rules have been made easier. In theory, it should be okay for you to have a 3-year degree and apply, but practically they don't admit. At least that was the last information I had. So you will probably need like a full 2-year program. Although, if you're not looking at the US, if you're looking at UK, if you're looking at Europe, then that's absolutely fine. A 3-year program is absolutely fine. So maybe you just want to change that, you know. The UK and Europe have some really, really good universities to apply to. Are extracurriculars required? Yes, but limit them. Maybe write like 2 lines on them, two bullet points or 3 bullet points. Don't go into detail of how you were in some club in the first year. It does not matter unless you did something really important. Skip that. Right? Let's say you were a nationals player in tennis, right? Write that. But if you were playing tennis at college level, don't include that. The sample email which you mentioned, the email to the professors, can you please share that? Bavav. Email me, Bavav. That's the best thing. I got 18 on TOEFL, and I'm not fulfilling the requirement of some universities as they ask for 20 on writing. But I have 3 publications and very good CGPA score. So should I have to apply there? If they are not accepting, then they will not accept. So I would suggest give it again. TOEFL is pretty formula based. If you practice it a little bit, you should be able to get it again. So I would say just give TOEFL again and apply to these universities. If you have 3 publications and a good GPA, then don't let TOEFL stop you from getting into the best universities, It's a very small thing. Just give TOEFL again. Prepare. It's a few days work, 1 week's work. Do it. Yes, it's an international journal. Great, Vaishnavi. Then it's brilliant. Then the last question, people, for PhD, is TOEFL GRE necessary or English certificate from college can work? English certificate from college is accepted at some universities, but typically they will ask for your TOEFL. GRE will not be waived on the basis of your English certificate because GRE is testing for not just English, but also your reasoning and thinking and analytical skills. So unless the university is specifically waiving off GRE, they will not waive off GRE just because your medium of instruction was English. TOEFL might be happening. I had a couple of friends who had got TOEFL waived, but it's subjective, depends from university to university. So, it depends. Yeah, there is no fixed answer to that. Yeah. Okay. So, Anushri says, thank you. Thank you, Anushri. So, okay, guys. So, and girls, it was brilliant talking to you. So, there's one more question. Some SOP guidelines mention talking about extracurriculars. For these, how many lines should we dedicate to non-technical work? Make it short. Right? Make it short. If they're specifically asking for extracurriculars, yes, please mention it. But it's not going to break your application or make your applications. What's going to break or make your application is your research and academic experience. This is great to have, but it is not a necessity. Right? They are probably just looking at you to figure out if you are a whole individual, if you are not just only in your academic. By the way, which university is that? You should tell me. So, will 2 years of work experience as a software engineer help in MS, computer science? Yes, it will if there is a continuation from your MS, from your work experience. Let's say you did work in a particular field, computing, let's say, and pervasive computing, and then you really enjoyed it, and now you want to study it further. Then it kind of will make sense. But if you did something else and then you are applying for something else in computer science, then you would have to weave a story which makes sense. If you can't weave a story, then it will not really add value, right? So, okay, UMass. Okay, Arkapriya. I'll check them out. Okay, so thank you everybody. It was great talking to all of you. I am sad that I could not see your faces. You all could see me. But I hope I'll get to talk to some of you post this. I also wish you best of luck. All the best. You can always reach out to me even if we don't sign up with T20 or GTCube. You can always reach out to me and we can and I can help you out in whatever capacity I can. Thanks to GTCube and T20 and thanks to everybody for being here, for listening to me so patiently, and I hope this was useful. Yeah? Okay, take care, guys. Yeah, thank you.